Okay, the Rocks as pirates during their day were stronger than any other pirate crew because basically they had so many powerful characters in their pirate crew to the point where their pirate crew could go basically anywhere in the One Piece world and basically do anything. And we're here to talk about how strong the Rocks pirates were as a group, you know. Let's go. So from the flashback we get from the latest chapters of One Piece, and I'm talking about the most recent ones, we understand that Rocks was very strong. Did he actually have a devil fruit power, or was he just using haki? I totally believe he did not have a devil fruit power, and he was just using haki. He was probably using haki, all three of them, like observation, armament, and conqueror, and up to the most limits of what he could do, basically. And what he could do, trust me, he could do a lot, to the point where he literally could smash a whole door of justice that's in the ocean, basically. And we've all seen how big those doors are. So to tell me that he's basically just able to come in and smash one of them, god damn it, how much power should you have to do something like that, you know? So from the flashback, it started with Rocks actually going to Marijois, attacking an admiral and killing the admiral, and then going to the strongest opponent. From what I'm guessing, he went to the strongest opponent in Marijois using his observation haki, just like Rayleigh back in the day. You know how you can go to an island and with your observation haki you can sense how many opponents are in the island, for example. Well, he did the same thing but on Marijois, and he was able to detect the strongest opponent and to go to, basically. And that's how he met him. And when he met him, he was like, well, hold on a second, I'll be back. And from there, basically Rocks had one goal, and that one goal is to become the conqueror of the whole world, and to basically become the king of the world of One Piece, basically. And for that perspective, he started on taking actions after actions. And the big action, for example, settling on Hachinosu and calling it his island, like he is basically the king of that island. And from there, he decided to get himself a crew so that later in the future he can have a whole pirate crew strong enough to go and fight him and all of his dominions and all of that stuff. And that's why Roxas did what he did, by getting himself stronger and getting more people with him that's as strong as him. And he used something very important in the One Piece community and the One Piece world. He did what we call a Davy Back fight. And a Davy Back fight is a fight in between two pirate crews. And basically those fights is more based on games, like sailing and winning a competition and shit like that. And basically at the end, if you lose a Davy Back fight, you gotta lose some of your pirate crew colleagues, for example, or you can even lose your flag, and that's even worse. And so that's how we understand that Rocks went around the One Piece world, and he collected, basically doing Davy Back fights, he collected new pirate members. For example, he was able to collect Whitebeard, he was able to get Stussy, he was able to collect Captain John, he was able to get Shiki. So basically some of the big names we know currently, yeah, Rocks back in the day was able to get all of them literally in his crew. And in the list of the Rocks pirates, that's Rocks was able to actually gather on his crew. So in the beginning we have Rocks, we have Newgate, we have Shiki, we have Stussy, we have Don Marlon, we have Ochuku, Ganzui, Captain John, Big Mom, Strusen, Barble, Kaido, and Kyo. And of course, we don't forget about Gloriosa and Gil Bastard. And so from all of these characters, we understand that Rocks, just like I said in the beginning, I think he used to use just haki, and that's it. Maybe he had a sword that he used to fight with, yes. But we're here to talk about if the character is using haki and a devil fruit, or just haki basically, or just devil fruit, you know. So we'll see throughout this video. Stay with me. And from here in the beginning, Newgate, for example, we understand that Newgate had haki and the earthquake fruit. Do I think that he had already the earthquake devil fruit power back at that time? Maybe not. I don't believe that he had that devil fruit power, because if you're telling me that he was an underling to Rocks, and then Goldie Roger with the help of Garp were able to actually win against Rocks, the Chebek, and all of his pirates, including Whitebeard, I don't think at that point Whitebeard had the earthquake fruit. He probably just had Haki and his weapon, you know, the cannibal, whatever. Moving on to Shiki, I also don't believe he had that devil fruit power yet. I also believe he was just using his Haki back in the day, and that's how he used to get by, you know. And then later on in the timeline, that's when he got his float fruit, you know, the float fruit or something. Basically the power to actually make you float or make anybody float, including himself at the end, you know, with those swords in his feet and all of that. But then you move on to Stussy. Stussy, we have no idea if she had an actual devil fruit power or if she had some Haki. But knowing that this is the Rocks and he's only basically getting the strongest of the strongest in a way, like the strongest people he could find at that time, I'm thinking that Stussy also probably used some form of Haki. Maybe armament or maybe observation or something, but she must have used something back in the day. And that's why Rocks got her in his ship, basically. Then moving on to Don Marlon. Don Marlon, we have basically no idea on what he could have been using, but we just understand that he was a mafia boss back in the day. And if you are a mafia boss, probably you've been using a devil fruit, maybe not a Haki, just like the other mafia guy we have. He's basically just using his devil fruit, and I don't think he's using that much Haki, you know. Maybe he knows a little bit about armament Haki, but other than that, I don't believe he's using observation or conquer, you know. Moving on to Ochuku. And Ochuku, we have no clue yet on how Ochuku was that strong. We understand that he was, after Rocks, basically the king of Hachinosu after Rocks, but after that we don't have a clue on how strong he was. But to be in the position he was, I'm thinking he was pretty strong physically and all of that. So Haki it is. And then we move on to Ganzui. And from everything we saw about Ganzui, maybe he's got something to do with a devil fruit that's got something to do with bullets, because he was able to actually eat bullets and stuff like that. So I'm thinking that he has something to do with that kind of power in a way, because why would somebody just, you know, gobble up bullets, you know? And moving on after that to Captain John. Captain John is basically what Buggy is looking for. He's basically looking for Captain John's treasure. So Captain John back in the day was one of the Roxas pirates as well, and I'm guessing no devil fruit power, but just Haki. And then when it comes to Big Mom's powers, we already know that Big Mom already had, you know, a lot of powers from way back then, from when she ate her own mother, you know. And basically she has a lot of strength, a lot of Haki, and she also has that devil fruit power that allows her to control basically the souls and the life power of souls and stuff like that. So basically you can say that at the time she was a pretty powerful companion to have with them, you know. And with them, we don't forget also about her weapons that she also had. So for example, Zeus and Prometheus, and she also used them, their homies in a way, to help her fight in a way. And following that, we have also Strussen. Strussen also was with her since the beginning. I don't think that Strussen has that much Haki, you know, but Strussen has that devil fruit power where he can basically touch something and that something can transform into food, basically into whatever kind of food you want. And in a way, it's a weird devil fruit power, but for Big Mom at the time, he was able to basically make any food she would have wanted. He was basically the perfect character to help out with her appetite in a way. Following that, we have somebody else called Barbel. Barbel, we don't have that much information on how he used to fight in a way. And we don't know if he used to use Haki or he had a devil fruit power. We don't know yet, but from guesses, one of the two, and I'm thinking maybe a devil fruit power, because right after that we have Kaido. Kaido at the time did not have a devil fruit power, and we know that it's Big Mom who basically gave him the devil fruit power that he's got. You know, the one that he's able to transform into a dragon with. And And that basically happened a little bit after the fight on God Valley, because apparently he was very badly hurt and he needed that devil fruit power to kind of regenerate himself or whatever, from my understanding. Let me know in the comments below if you have a different understanding of what happened, but let me know, guys. But for Kaido, back in the day, he used to just use Haki and his body was super strong. So on that term, Haki wise, he used to probably use armament Haki, observation Haki, and also Conqueror's Haki. And I'm gonna be talking about Conqueror's Haki in one of my next videos, guys, so tune in for that one too. And we don't forget also about Kyo, the silver axe. Maybe he was just using Haki on his silver axe, so we're talking about armament Haki to the utmost. And that's why he was one of the strongest characters, basically not a swordsman, but an axeman, for example. And Kyo, from my understanding, he's pretty much a legend in the One Piece community and in the One Piece world. So I'm guessing that he was pretty strong with his axes, you know. And of course, we don't forget about Gloriosa, the captain of the Kuja pirates. And Gloriosa, she probably did not have a devil fruit power, but she probably had all forms of Haki. So observation, armament, and maybe also Conqueror. Maybe Conqueror Haki runs in the line of captains of the Kuja pirates, for example. Maybe. And at the last one, we have Gil Bastard. And Gil Bastard, we have no clue on what his devil fruit or Haki powers might be. So I would leave that character to you guys to let me know down in the comments below. What do you think Gil Bastard's powers are? Because I definitely have no clue. After talking about the characters, now I wanted to talk a little bit about the goals of the Rocks pirates and who are their enemies and who they might have defeated or whatever. And in One Piece, we understand that the Rocks were created to basically follow Rocks to go to the end of the world and basically become the king of the world, basically the ruler of the world of One Piece, and defeat him. And in that perspective, he needs more people to kind of back him up, because that fight is going to be a tough fight, and he understood it when he went and saw him himself, you know, in Marijois. And so to do that, that's why Rocks was doing those Davy back fights. He got himself a whole crew like Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki, all those people. And after that, basically from the information we have, he was called the terrorist of the world government, basically. So every time he would see a world government ship or a celestial dragon ship or whatever, he will probably go and try to rob it and sink the ship, you know. So basically that's why he was called what he was called, and he had the reputation he had because he had literally no remorse. He would go basically after everybody he would see, because he would see his opportunity literally everywhere. If it was a world government ship, he would see his opportunity. If it was a pirate ship, he would still see his opportunity to do a Davy back fight, and that way he can get the most people he can get for the big fight, you know. So in a way, his enemies were everybody, and the only stop they really had in a way is when they had that fight in God Valley against Goldie Roger and Garp, where eventually Rocks D. Chebek and his whole crew lost the fight, you know. So literally that is the only time where I know of that Rocks D. Chebek and his crew actually lost. And then when it comes up to the future, to the actual Rocks D. Chebek pirates and all of that, we see that 3 of them actually became emperors of the sea. For example, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom were able to become emperors of the sea, you know. And from there, the true future in a way of the Rocks is basically for me on Blackbeard, because in a way he's the son of Rock D. Chebek, and he basically has in a way the same dreams as him, as he wants to conquer basically everything and become the king of the world. So the future of the Rocks is with Blackbeard. How is it gonna go in the future? I don't know yet. But is there gonna be a fight in between Rocks, D. Chebek, and Luffy? Totally. I totally believe so. And if you also believe so, let me know down in the comments below. And on that note, guys, it's been a pleasure. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.